Well, I'm joined by Tristram Hunt, the Shadow Education Secretary, who's not in the Jeremy Corbyn camp. Good evening to you. You're backing Liz Kendall. Who's your second preference?
My second preference is for Yvette Cooper. I thought the speech she gave last Thursday, setting out her agenda, was really, really passionate and convincing. And I think, following your clip, the position she's taken to take on some of the arguments of Jeremy Corbyn, some of the backward-looking programme he seems to embody, is exactly the right strategy, that we should have this full, open and frank debate about the future of the party and differing political traditions and differing political approaches within it.
And what do you think of the Burnham approach that we started seeing today, much more friendly towards Corbyn, trying to sort of say, look, I like the guy, I want to work with him?
I don't think it's about the man, it's about the political programme. And my politics as Yvette's, as Liz Kendall's, are not about withdrawing from Europe. They're not about an industrial policy which seems to emerge from the early 1970s. It's about a future of Britain which encapsulates modern Britain. And I think the criticism one has of Jeremy Corbyn is not about the authenticity and the veracity of the man. It's about a very old-fashioned, Bennite political programme which doesn't speak to modern Britain and certainly won't speak to an electorate in 2020.
Right. Can I be clear? Is there a kind of is it clear that what one might have called the Blairite wing or the New Labour wing, the bit of the party to which you are subscribed, David Miliband today said he's backing Liz Kendall, Yvette Cooper second. Is that now the kind of the official position for your wing of the party? Kendall, Yvette?
No, I think it's variable. I mean, my colleague Gloria De Piero is backing Andy Burnham second. Okay. I think there are lots of
so it's a bit of a mess because you can't agree, really, can you? I mean, it is a bit of a mess.
But this is what's interesting. I've been talking to Labour members in Essex and Suffolk today, in Ipswich and Colchester, and I think this election is far more open than people think. There are a lot of undecided voters out there. I'm not saying that there isn't a great deal of enthusiasm for Jeremy Corbyn, and we've seen those fantastic pictures and people have joined the party. But actually, amongst members up and down the country where you haven't got some of the Corbyn mania, there's a lot of undecided voters. And I would just urge a degree of caution from the media that actually this is more open than they think.
To what extent do you think the Blairites only have themselves to blame for the predicament they found themselves in with Corbyn stealing the show in this election? They've had nothing interesting to say for the last 3 years, perhaps. Abdicated the kind of the intellectual position.
I think one of the faults has been that we were not proud enough and vocal enough under the previous leadership of defending our record in government. And when we think about the remarkable radical achievements of Tony Blair and Gordon Brown on the minimum wage, on devolution, on peace in Northern Ireland, on raising taxes for the NHS, on transforming our education system, actually we seem to disavow that legacy. And so lots of people have joined the party who haven't really appreciated the extraordinary transformation of the public realm, almost the sort of civilising in large parts of Britain under the Labour government. And if you haven't heard good things about Labour in power, everyone thinks, oh, well, it's terrible to be in power, you just sell out your principles. And that's what Jeremy Corbyn is appealing to.
Tony Blair has explained it, and instead of seeming to get swathes of people back to kind of New Labour politics, it seems to have driven people into the hands of Jeremy Corbyn. What's going wrong
but
there?
you need to roll the pitch. You can't just turn up and say, by the way, it was all fantastic. Actually, we need to remind ourselves and tell us the stories about that. And that's also, I think, about a reckoning with Tony Blair. And one of the things I hope to see in the coming years is a celebration of Tony Blair as part of our great lineage, as part of the history of our party, but also an appreciation that we go forward beyond his shadow. And whoever's the next leader, I hope they accept Tony within, the pantheon of great Labour leaders, and then look to the future. And maybe it's because of Chilcot, I don't know, but we seem to have this psychological hurdle with Tony that we need to get over.
Right. Now, you said I think I'm right in saying you said you won't serve in a Corbyn cabinet. You've set up this group. It's called the Common Good, the Labour for the Common Good group. You've written an email to most Labour MPs, the ones who aren't supporting Jeremy Corbyn. Are you plotting as head of the resistance if Corbyn wins?
Well, first of all, as Jeremy said, he hasn't won. As I've said at the beginning, this is an open contest.
He's the bookie's favourite, though, isn't he?
Secondly, it would be a great presumption to think that he'd want me to serve.
No, it's going to be a shadow cabinet election, so you could stand for election to go into the shadow cabinet, or you could choose to stand aside.
Yeah, no, I would not seek to be elected to a Jeremy Corbyn shadow cabinet because my politics are different to his.
So you
on
would
Europe,
seek to
on the
undermine
economy.
him rather than to
No,
work
I mean, there are huge
inside.
numbers of members of the Parliamentary Labour Party who support the Labour Party in outstanding ways who don't serve on the front bench. I will serve the interests of my constituency of Stoke-on-Trent in Parliament, which is a huge privilege and a duty and a responsibility. And part of the group that I'm setting up, which is part of a myriad of groups as we deal with the sort of colossal loss at the general election, is about reviving the ideas and the politics of the Labour Party, how we deal with globalisation, how we tackle inequality without retreating to the old policies, how we deal with climate change, all these big issues which I think we want a sort of progressive, modernising response to. And it seems only fair that we have these kind of groups in Parliament to develop those ideas. So I look forward, one of the few things I look forward to as we face opposition is the discussion about the revival of social democracy.
Right. If Jeremy Corbyn wins, or if any of the others win, do you think it likely there will be another leadership election before 2020, before the next general election? For example, one where you have to go through a renewal of the vows, so to speak, re-elect the leader, or because whoever's elected isn't going to cut the mustard by 2020. Are you expecting another leadership election?
Well, we need to see who's elected, and we need to see how
If
they
Jeremy Corbyn
and we
wins,
need to see how they conduct themselves.
If
I think
if Corbyn won, do you think he would make it through to 2020?
I don't know. It's a long period of time, and I think this is one of the challenges we face about the immediacy of the election contest after the loss. And one of the reasons I'm supporting Liz Kendall is I think she's the candidate who can grow over the Parliament so that by 2020 you've got a very good candidate in place for the general election. What we're trying to pick here, Evan, is not a leader of the opposition who makes us feel good in our constituency Labour Party meetings on a Thursday. It is a prospective Labour Prime Minister who makes the tough, challenging decisions built upon Labour values and Labour principles. And as the ballot papers drop to members, I think that's the question they've got to have in their minds.
Would you stand in 2017, 2018 if there was another election, leadership election?
I think this is all sort of speculation. We need to find who's going to be the winner, but what I am interested in is being part of the conversation and the grouping which gets us in a viable place for 2020 and doesn't repeat the trauma of 2015, because it is constituents in Stoke-on-Trent and other parts of the country who are going to be hammered by this government. And the issue we have with Jeremy Corbyn is about the indulgence, that people feeling good about themselves in the Labour Party rather than doing good for the country. And that's what the Labour Party is about.
Tristram Hunt, thank you very much.